ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So in these two verses, the last verse and this verse, the potency of chanting the holy name of the Lord is very nicely described. So it is very essential because all of us have to chant. That is one of our very important duties Prabhupada has given. Daily chant 16 rounds of Hare Krishna mantra. So here we will see quality chanting is very important. Quality and quantity both are required, but quality is more important. Quantity, if we keep on chanting days together, months together, but if there is no quality, if it is offensive chanting, then it will not yield the desired result. Otherwise, one name chanted offenselessly, purely, that is sufficient. So, Devahuti is describing, like in the last verse, Devahuti said, Yan nama dhyeya, if anyone is either chanting, hearing, so she is describing about the glories of the holy name. Shravana Anukirtanat. Shravana means anyone who hears the holy name of the Lord. Anukirtanat, anyone who chants the holy name of the Lord. Yat Prahavanat, or anyone who offers his obeisances. Yat Smaranat, or anyone who remembers the holy name. At any time, api kvachit. So what is the result? So let us say someone is hearing, chanting, offering obeisances to the Lord, remembering the Lord. Then, Swado api, even if one is a dog eater, Sadhyaha, immediately, not that it will require time. Savanaya kalpate, he becomes eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices. Savanaya means Vedic sacrifices. Kutah punaste bhagavannu darshana. Then what is to be said of someone like Devahuti, who is directly seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face and also understanding about him? So two people are compared. One is Mother Devahuti herself, who is directly seeing the Supreme Lord face to face and also taking knowledge from him, understanding him. And another person who is born in a very low class family, but somehow or other he remembers the Lord, he chants the holy name of the Lord, he hears the holy name of the Lord, he pays obeisances to the Lord. So, even such a person, he has become eligible to perform Vedic sacrifice. So then you can just imagine, if such a person who just remembered the Lord, chanted the holy name, heard the holy name, if he has become so qualified, what will be the result of Mother Devahuti, who is seeing the Lord face to face and understanding the Supreme Lord? Isn't it? So, one may wonder how it is possible. Because if one has to perform Vedic sacrifices, there is a process required. There is qualification required. So do you mean to say someone who is chanting the name of the Lord or remembering the Lord, but he is born in the family of dog eater, he has attained all those qualifications? Someone may question this. So Prabhupada very nicely compares. Prabhupada says the general process is one takes birth in the family of a Brahmana. But that itself is not sufficient. That is only one advantage. Later on, he has to undergo reformation by Dashavida Samskara. And then he has to become learned in the Vedic literatures. Then it is possible he becomes eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices. Including, he has undergone Dvija, he has become twice born. Then he becomes eligible. Now, why is he born in a Brahmana family? Because, why that advantage is there? He has done some pious activities in his past life. So because of his past pious activities, he is born in a Brahminical family. Now let us take the case of a person who is born in the family of a dog eater. Why is he born in the family of a dog eater? Because in the past, he has committed sinful activities. As a result of his sinful activities, now he has taken birth in the family of a dog eater. So now, that means his life is filled with sinful activities and its results. If he has to become qualified to perform Vedic ritualistic sacrifices, how does he earn those qualifications? When one was born in the family of Brahmana, he became purified by Dashavida samskar. And after those samskar, he became qualified. Now, how is this person qualified? He did not perform any of these samskaras. So, how has he become qualified to perform Vedic sacrifices? So, that is explained in the Vedic literatures. That all the results of these samskaras which are performed to purify the individual, all those results are achieved simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord. Because the holy name of the Lord is non-different from the Supreme Lord. Just like the Lord is very powerful, the holy name of the Lord is also very powerful. So what happens when one offenselessly chants the holy name of the Lord? Sadhyaha. Here, the word which is used is, it is not that later on he becomes immediately qualified, savanaya kalpate, to perform Vedic sacrifice. That means he has achieved the result, or he has attained the qualities of Brahmana, because one cannot perform Vedic sacrifices until one is a Brahmana. So if he has become eligible, that means he has attained all the qualities of a Brahmana. That means all his sinful reactions are already washed away. And that is what Rupa Goswami explains. What happens when one chants the holy name of the Lord? Or like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has explained, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. One's heart becomes purified. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Aham Tvam Sarve Papebhyo Mokshashyami. Anyone who has surrendered to the Lord takes charge of relieving all his sinful reactions. So there are many ways of purifying our existence. One is by samskara, another is by special arrangement of the Lord. If anyone chants the holy name of the Lord, the name is so potent that all the sinful reactions are washed away immediately. You see. So Rupa Goswami explains, it is not only the sinful reactions which are washed away. All the three stages of sins exist in different stages. In the form of seed, in the form of just fructified, and then fully when it has become fructified. So seed, seedling, and then fructification. What we suffer today, if we are suffering from some horrible disease for a very long time, if somebody is implicated in law and different kinds of, then one should understand it is because of the prarabdha karma. One is reaping or suffering the fruits of his sinful activities. Now it has become fructified. There are some sinful reactions which are waiting to be fructified in the course of time. They are not visible now. Then suddenly we find, hey, this person was very nice. I just talked to him few days back, he was good. Today we see, suddenly we find he has developed chest pain and his arteries are blocked. Isn't it? So there are some sinful reactions which are waiting to fructify. They are in the seedling stage. And some are kuta. Kuta means they are completely now in seed form. You cannot see anything. So whether it is kuta, whether it is bija, whether it is phalonmukha, everything, all these three stages can be completely burned to ash by chanting the holy name of the Lord. Can you imagine? Prabhupada gives the example. There may be seed. You roast the seed. Let us say you roast the seed. Will it ever grow? It will never fructify. But you cut that plant. Suppose one fructified plant is there and there are so many other seeds. Let us say you destroy the external fructification, you destroy the plant. For some time the ground is clean. But once again when there is rain, it will become fructified. So that is not a permanent solution. But if the seed loses the potency by some method, that seed will never fructify. So the sinful seeds which are lying dormant in our life, they will never fructify if they are burned. And they can be burned by chanting the holy name of the Lord. This is the potency of the holy name of the Lord. So now you can see that how it is very scientific. One person born in the family of a Brahmana, he undertakes reformatory processes, the samskaras, and then he becomes qualified as a Dvija. Later he studies the Vedas and he realizes Brahman, he becomes a Brahmana. Now on the other hand, you can see, person is born in a family of a dog eater because of his sinful past activities, but because somehow or other he has come in touch with a pure devotee of the Lord, he has become initiated by him, and on his tongue, now he is able to chant the holy name of the Lord. So what changes have undergone? The same changes have undergone. But this process is quick, very quick. Satyaha, he becomes immediately qualified. That process has taken a long time. See? So how this has become very quick? Because all these sinful reactions are completely vanquished by chanting the holy name of the Lord. And he has achieved all the results which one could have achieved by performing those samskaras. He has already achieved. So, this is very, very important, which Prabhupada is saying. Now, in today's words, because somebody may think, what are you saying? He has become qualified to perform Vedic sacrifices. How do you know? How it is possible? Because to perform Vedic sacrifices, one must have undergone reformation, one must have studied Vedas, one must have gone to all pilgrimages, taken holy bath. Has this person done this? You are saying that he has become eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices. So in this verse, Mother Devabhuti is saying, yes, he has already finished all those things. Because without finishing, one cannot come to this point of chanting the holy name of the Lord. The holy name will not appear on the tongue until one has finished all these things. So if holy name has appeared on the tongue of someone and is chanting offenselessly, means he has already performed all these things in his previous lives. So he doesn't require to perform. He has already finished all of them. He is already sitting on a high court judge seat. This automatically shows he has already studied laws. Right? He has already studied laws. There are two people. One planning to study law, one studying law, and one who is a high court judge. So planning to study law has to still study, get the result of studies, then he can be posted as a high court judge. He is already in the high court judge seat. That means he has already studied and there is no planning to study. He has already finished all those things. So, simply born in a family of a Brahmana, planning to get reformed and then undergoing reformation, one may reach that platform. But he has already reached that platform. So how has he reached? Did he perform all these things? Here it is saying, yes. Whatever is required for an Aryan, he is already an Aryan. Aryan means decorated with all spiritual good qualities, cultured, civilized. He is called an Aryan. So, very nicely Prabhupada analyzes this. If you read the purport, I'll just little by little we will see how Prabhupada has analyzed this whole thing. As it is stated in the previous verse, person who has once offenselessly chanted the holy name of God becomes immediately eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices. One should not be astonished by this statement of Bhagavatam. So in the previous verse it was explained, no? Yan nama dheya. So Prabhupada explains later on in this purport. Not many names he has to chant. There are thousands and thousands of names of the Supreme Lord. Brahmana may be chanting so many different kinds of mantras. So it is not required that he has to chant the name of Narsimha, he has to chant the name of Rama, he has to chant so many other different mantras or names given. One name. Nama, Prabhupada, is singular. The word which is used is singular. Not that he has to chant so many names. So one singular name of the Lord is sufficient if chanted in quality, offenselessly. So Prabhupada is saying here, so one should not be astonished. So Prabhupada is saying here, how by chanting the holy name of the Lord can one become a holy man, to be compared to most elevated Brahmana? To eradicate such doubts in the minds of unbeliever, this verse affirms, stage of chanting the holy name of the Lord is not sudden. Do not think you are just seeing the tip of the iceberg. You are not seeing what is there down. You are only seeing, he is born in a family of Chandala and he is chanting the holy name, and you are telling he is greater than even a Brahmana. Isn't it? Brahmana's life you are seeing only of this life. Our life is a journey from very long time. Isn't it? So this is what one has to understand. So Prabhupada is saying this is not all of a sudden, but the chanters have already performed all kinds of Vedic rituals and sacrifices. It is not very astounding, for no one in this life can chant the holy name of the Lord unless he has passed all lower stages, such as performing the Vedic ritualistic sacrifices, studying the Veda, practicing good behavior like that of the Aryan. All these must first have been done. And then Prabhupada is giving that example. Just as a student in the law class is to be understood to have already graduated from general education, anyone who is engaged in chanting of the holy name of the Lord must have already passed all lower stages. Another important thing which Prabhupada is saying is also very important. So, here it is said, Aho bato swapacho ato gariyan yad jivha gare. Prabhupada comments on that verse. What is this jivha gare? Prabhupada is saying if the name has appeared on the tip of his tongue is sufficient. He doesn't require to understand all the 3 stages of chanting. Offensive stage, offenseless stage and pure stage. He does not have to understand. If the name has appeared on the tip of the tongue is sufficient to make him qualified. How it is so? Prabhupada explains that. Elsewhere in Bhagavatam it is explained, the devotional service of the Lord is so potent, early morning rising of the sun is sufficient. Early rising sun itself is sufficient. You don't require a blazing sun to take away the darkness or to take away the fog. You see? So, that means even person who may be offensively chanting the holy name of the Lord is better than a Brahmana. And if one can chant offenselessly, very great, very good. He has become much greater than the Brahmana. Isn't it? So that is what Prabhupada is saying. It is said here that those who are simply chanting the holy name with the tip of the tongue are glorious. One does not even have to chant the holy name and understand the whole procedure, namely offensive stage, offenseless stage, pure stage. If the holy name is sounded on the tip of the tongue, that is also sufficient. Then Prabhupada is saying, it is said here in Nama, singular number, one name Krishna or Rama is sufficient. See how nicely Prabhupada explains the glories of the holy name. Not that you have to chant innumerable names. If the name has appeared on your tongue, that is also sufficient, even to be greater than a Brahmana. See, the holy name of the Lord are innumerable. If one chants once only, it is to be understood that he has already passed all the examination. Not to speak of those who are chanting always 24 hours a day. You see? If once only one has chanted, he has become better than a Brahmana. And you can imagine if somebody is chanting 24 hours a day and you are comparing, he is equal to Brahmana. He is much greater than Brahmana. Somebody who is chanting 24 hours a day. Isn't it? It is specifically said here, and another important thing Prabhupada is explaining, Tubhyam. Why this word Devahuti is using Tubhyam? So this is also very significant. Because Mayavadi says any name. You can chant demigod's name, you can chant Krishna's energy's name, Durga. Any name you can chant. But actually they are called Pashandis. So if anyone compares the holy name equivalent to the names of the demigods, he is called a Pashandi. So that is not true. Here it is very clearly said, Tubhyam, one who chants your holy name. That is another important thing. Next, Prabhupada explains the holy name chanting should be done for what purpose? That is important. It has to be done to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not for any other purpose. If that is done, then one will achieve, even if one is born in a family of a dog eater. His lower birth will not stop him. But if he is having motivation, then it may not be possible. So Prabhupada explains this. The holy name has to be chanted to please the Supreme Lord, not for any sense gratification or professional purpose. If this pure mentality is there, then even though a person is born in low family, such as a dog eater, he is so glorious that now Prabhupada explains another important aspect. He becomes so glorious, not only he benefits himself, he has become purified, he becomes eligible to purify others. He can spread the holy name of the Lord and even make other people benefited and liberated from this world. Prabhupada gives the example of Srila Haridas Thakur. He was born in a low family, but he became such a great devotee, he became so glorious. It was said that not only his own family, he himself, he is eligible to purify anyone who comes in touch with him. Whereas so-called Brahmana cannot even liberate himself, what to talk about even liberating his family? See, this is the glory. So Prabhupada explains this. It did not matter that he was born in a family which was not following the Vedic rules and regulation. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Advaita Prabhu accepted him as an authority because he was offenselessly chanting the name of the Lord. Authorities like Advaita Prabhu and Lord Chaitanya immediately accepted that he had already performed all kinds of austerities, studying the Vedas and performing all sacrifice. That is automatically understood. Next, Prabhupada explains, but still there will be some class of people. They will still say, yes, what you are saying is correct. By chanting holy name, he is getting purified, no doubt. They will say, but still he requires next birth. So not that just because he is chanting, we appreciate his chanting, he is born in a family of a Chandala, very good. And now his purification has begun, but his complete purification will happen after death. He has to take birth in a family of a Brahmana. Then only it is possible. Right? Somebody may still say. So here, the word sadhya is very important. Prabhupada stresses on that. And Srila Sridhar Swami has also commented. And he says, immediately he becomes worshipable. Pujyate. Immediately he becomes worshipable. Just like here it is said, Aho Garyan. Immediately he is glorious. So Prabhupada stresses on that. There is a hereditary class of Brahmana called Smartha, who are of the opinion, even if such a person who are chanting the holy name of the Lord are accepted as purified, they still have to perform Vedic rites or await next birth in a family of a Brahmana. So either they think they still have to perform all these purificatory processes, or in the next life they have to take birth in a family of a Brahmana and undergo all this reformation, then only he can perform. So, such a man does not need to wait for the next birth to become purified. He is at once purified. It is understood he has already performed all sorts of rites. So, two things Prabhupada is saying. One is sadhyaha, he has immediately become purified. Second is, he does not require to do all this, he has done all these things. This is what Devahuti is saying. He has already performed. And then Prabhupada is giving the list, what all Brahmanuchur, studying of the Vedas, savanaya, or performing the Vedic sacrifices, taking bath in all holy rivers, everything he has already performed. Why he has to do it again? He's already performed all these things, isn't it? So such a man does not need to wait for the next birth to become purified. He is at once purified. It is understood he has already performed all sorts of rites. It is so-called Brahmana who actually have to undergo different kinds of austerity before reaching that point of purification. The many other Vedic performances which are not described here, all such Vedic rituals have already been performed by the chanter of the holy name. Now Prabhupada explains what is all this he has already performed. Juhvu means the chanter of the holy name have already performed all kinds of sacrifices. Finished. So he has already finished all sacrifices. Sasnuhu, they have already traveled to all holy places of pilgrimage, taken part in purificatory activities on those places, finished. They are called Aryaha. They have already finished all these requirements. Whatever else you may say. Because you may say, oh, we have mentioned only few things. The Dashavida Samskara he has to do, Vedas he has to study, he has to go to holy places and take bath. So Aryaha, whatever qualification is required to become a civilized man, he has already finished. And therefore, they must be among the Aryans, or those who have qualified themselves to become Aryan. Aryan refers to those who are civilized, whose manners are regulated according to Vedic rituals. Any devotee who is chanting the holy name of the Lord is the best kind of Aryan. Unless one studies the Vedas, one cannot become an Aryan. But it is automatically understood the chanters have already studied all Vedic literature. Specific word used is Anuchuhu, which means they have already completed all these recommended acts of studying the Vedas, rituals and everything. And they have become qualified to be spiritual master. And then Prabhupada is finally talking about the word Grananti. The very word Grananti, which is used in this verse, means because they have already accepted the holy name of the Lord, already established in the perfectional stage of ritualistic performances. It's already established. If one is seated on the bench of a high court and is giving judgment on the cases, it means he has already passed all legal exam and is better than those who are engaged in the study of the law or expecting to study law in the future. In a similar way, persons who are chanting the holy name are transcendental to those who are actually factually performing the Vedic rituals and those who are expected to be qualified, or in other words, born in family of Brahmanas but have not yet undergone the reformatory process and who therefore expect to study the Vedas, rituals and perform the sacrifices in the future, is better than all of them. Those who are expecting to become Brahmanas or those who are already performing, he is better than all of them. And then Prabhupada is saying that it is not only in Bhagavatam, it is established in many other Vedic literatures. There are many Vedic statements in different places saying that anyone who chants the holy name of the Lord becomes immediately freed from conditioned life. Anyone who hears the holy name of the Lord, even though born of a family of a dog eater, also becomes liberated from the clutches of material entanglement. So we'll stop with this Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.